A financial emergency can happen to anyone at any time, and having an emergency fund can make all the difference. Here to talk about how to handle unexpected expenses is financial advisor Phil Cooper with 210 Financial. Thanks for joining us.
Rashawn, good to see you.
Good to see you. So a lot of people have trouble building an emergency fund. A lot of people have trouble saving in general, right? So what are some of the first steps to not just save, but save for emergencies?
Yeah, I think we talk about this so many different times in different segments about having a budget, knowing where the dollars are going, figuring out whether there's fat in that budget and cutting some of that out. But once you've gone through that process, then we need to start putting some money away for what we call an emergency fund. Why do we want to do that? Well, life happens. Refrigerators quit working and cats need surgery like we talked about. Things like this happen. And that's a stressful moment when those things happen. But you compound that stress when we don't have the money to pay for the emergency. And so now we're putting on credit cards, we're borrowing from friends and family, and the stress just keeps compounding. If we have the money sitting there for an emergency, well, it was still stressful in the emergency that happened, but we don't have to compound the financial stress on top of that. So what we want everyone to be thinking about, start out with just putting something away into checking account, savings account, money market account, something that is liquid. I can go get it tomorrow if the emergency happens. There's an old saying, you've heard about Murphy's Law. There's this old thing that says, if I don't have the money, guess who shows up at my door? Oh, Murph and all his brothers. There they are knocking on the door. The transmission goes out. The refrigerator quits working. But we want everyone to be thinking about a 3 to 6 month living expense emergency fund set aside. Sometimes it's hard to do. We were talking about before the segment began today on the cost of living. It's high today. And sometimes we got to maybe do some part-time work. We have to do something. But if we have those dollars set aside, the emergency, it doesn't stop the emergency from happening. It just stops the financial stress of compounding on top of that.
Yeah, and the scrambling that comes with that. So you mentioned 3 to 6 months worth. Why that amount, and how would someone go about determining an appropriate amount for them?
The budget will help you determine how much. So let's make up some numbers. Let's say your monthly budget is $3,000. That's what it costs for my car payment, my light payment, my groceries, everything. Take $3,000 times 3 months. I need $9,000 set aside into my emergency fund. And then the way we go about that is every time I get paid, I make that a line item. I am now part of my budget. The light bill, the car payment, Phil is part of his budget. Phil has to pay himself. What's left over, I get to live on. And if there's not enough to live over or live on after I have something left over, I either have to go get more income or I have to cut my expenses somehow.
Now, when having these conversations, people often hear about a high yield savings account. What is that? One, why is that the preferred option, and how do you go about getting one in comparison to just a regular savings?
High yield just means it's paying you something. We don't want your money to be lazy. If you put $100 into an account that's doing nothing, it's not getting you any yield, any return, any interest, it's lazy money. You might as well stick it under the mattress at home. A high yield means your $100 went in and now it's earning money. So now you're working for money and your money's working for money. Now you've got a compound effect attached to you. How do you go about getting those? Usually the best place for those are going to be online, not the brick and mortars, not the bank on the corner down the street, because of the onlines, they don't have to pay for the big staff. They don't have to pay for the brick and mortar. They can pay you, the consumer, more on the money that you're putting into your high yield savings account.
Yeah, awesome. And to really drive home that point of importance for having a emergency fund, some people just go, hey, I have a credit card, I could just load it onto that. Or maybe if I do find myself in this situation, I'll just pick up a loan. Why are those not the best options?
Because if I have to reach in my pocket and pull out a $100 bill, there's an emotional attachment. I want to hang on to that $100. It just hang on to it. Credit card, there's just like swipe, swipe, swipe. I don't feel that. And so all of a sudden, when I realize if my emergency fund is my credit card, all of a sudden I've got a lot more emergencies. Oh, I needed that purchase. I needed that vacation. I needed that whatever. Slide, 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 slide. There's no emotional attachment. And all of a sudden, one day I get the bill in the mail. That's where the emotional attachment happens. But if I'm actually parting with cash, you have an emotional something that clicks into your brain and goes, that's expensive. I've got to look for ways to save money.
And unfortunately, more people than others don't have an emergency fund. So let's say they find themselves in a position. How can you all at 210 Financial help guide them through that?
Yeah, we'll help them design a budget. Number one, where's your money going? Number two, are there things we can get rid of that either cut my monthly cost or maybe we can sell something and put the dollars you just sold that thing for into your emergency fund. Number 3, maybe I don't have enough income. And a lot of people can change careers or bring on a roommate or do something to help drive costs down and income up. It all hinges around a budget. If you watch the segments for any length of time, you've heard me say that 100,000 times, and we're going to keep saying it. A budget, a budget, a budget, because we need to know where our money's going.
Yeah, if I gave you a quarter every time you said budget, I would have to rework
I'd have
my
an emergency
budget.
fund.
You would. Well, as always, we enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
if you at home did too, make sure you join us for our next Money Monday conversation happening on April 6th.